Hey, I am representing today, and this is a foreshadowing. I'll move my microphone so you guys can see it. American Conference champions, AFC champions, Tennessee Titans, 2024 season. We're taking the AFC. Tennessee Titans, big shout out, huge shout out. You have just tuned into an episode of You Have to Meet My Friends. If this is your first time on the podcast, we have 3 different shows. One is Inchstones. We go through 3,000-year-old wisdom. We do it every single day. We want to give you some soul food, but we bring it in a light and, consumable kind of way, whether it be, applying to your business, your relationships, your life, whatever it is. Also, I get to, interview some of the most iconic people in the world. And that's another show that we do. And then I do this show, which is called You Have to Meet My Friends, where I go live and I call my friends randomly. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Welcome to You Have to Meet My Friends, and where I go live and I call my friends randomly. They have no idea that they're going to be on the podcast, and I just scroll through my contacts. And when I do, I'm able to get some of the coolest people on the podcast, and they have no idea, but we ask them permission just to make sure. I wanted to say, as the NFL season starts, go Titans, go Titans, go Titans. Although I did find this, and this is a picture of myself. I think it was in like 2nd grade, and I happened to be wearing a Steelers shirt. So I don't know. I think we could cut this off a little bit so it's still a cute kid, but when it comes up here, it's scary. It's scary because I was representing Steelers at the time. I was obviously abused as a child, and that's the reason why I was wearing Steelers. If you're a Steelers fan, you're going down because the Tennessee Titans are coming. Hall of Fame, undefeated season. We're undefeated already, and Niners fans, take that. But let's get this show on the road. Sometimes I get skunked and my friends won't answer, and sometimes they do. So let's call this guy. This guy is like the elusive spider monkey. No one can catch him, and if you catch him, it is going to be an amazing thing. So let's see if this young man will answer us today.
Yo, Kelly.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm always doing good. We're getting ready to rock on the golf course. What's happening?
Hey, tell me about the spider monkey.
Spider monkey is interesting. There's a guy named San Juan, and they tried to capture a spider monkey for years, but they just couldn't do it. And finally, this guy came up with a solution where he took a heavy log, drilled a tiny hole, dropped a peanut inside, left it at the base of the jungle. The monkey would smell the nut, come down from the treetop, reach his hand inside the hole, grab a hold of the nut, but then his fist becomes so big because it's exposed, he can't pull it out. He comes anchored to the log, kind of like a cork in the log. Now, all he's got to do is let go of the nut so he can, fold up his hand and pull it out, but he holds on with dear life, thinking that nut is nutrition and it's saving him. And a hunter comes by an hour later and captures this monkey that was just been holding on to the nut when he could have let go and been freed the entire time. And the moral is, how many times we or someone we know hold on to our own nut in life. But it could be in the form of a job or fear, the past or guilt. It could also be leading to our own demise, just like the monkey was holding on to the nut.
Well, I think you already know, but you're on the podcast right now, and I wanted to welcome Mr. Greg Reed, the legend. So, Greg, I know you're about to golf, but I said, it's funny because I prefaced it. I said, you're the spider monkey on the phone, and be able to catch you.
You caught me, and now I'm going on the golf course. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, buddy. So that was Greg Reed. He's an incredible human being, a great friend of mine. We co-host Secret Knock together, and to be able to capture him on the phone is an incredible thing. We are going to call. This is a regular on the show, and we're going to see if he'll be responsible and not take my call, because most likely he's supposed to be working. But it always helps me out, and I haven't talked to him in a little bit. So,
what's up, man?
Big Willie.
Going on?
You okay with being on the podcast?
Oh, dude, I'm in the process of going to the office, man.
You're on the way to the office. That's why I said I actually prefaced it with that you're a regular. Everybody loves you. Just say hi to the people, though, man.
Hello, internet people.
Well, I said that I'm going to check to see if you're going to be responsible today and not take my call, but I appreciate you taking my call. I know you're working hard and you're making a difference and you're being a great dad. Did you get the rally monkey?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, sure did. Knock that out.
Any quick Daxy funny stories before you go?
Oh man.
Can you tell him? Can you tell him about the toy? Can you tell him about the toy that you just received in the mail?
Oh my gosh, yeah, the twerking Robin doll from Teen Titans.
Why would they make a doll like that?
It's called Booty Shake Robin.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah.
It's always
my son.
It's always a good time, man. And lastly, did you happen to see the woman from Australia compete in the Olympics in breakdancing?
Indeed.
Takes on it?
That was the worst breakdancing I've ever seen. And 2 days later, the Olympics committee was like, "Yeah, there will be no more breakdancing in the Olympics." So if she didn't accomplish anything, she definitely got breakdancing kicked out of the Olympics, because that's how bad she was. So.
Here, your NFL prediction. There's the last question for you. NFL prediction for your Philadelphia Eagles this year?
I think we're going to have a solid season, beyond solid, and I think we're going to be contending for a Super Bowl championship.
Will you beat the Cowboys once or twice?
2 times.
2 times. Big scores or little scores?
Doesn't matter, man. Win's a win.
Okay. And I want to tell you as you go, 17-0, home field advantage. We'll have a tough game in the Super Bowl, but the Titans will win. So just want to let you know.
17-0, huh?
17-0, baby.
That's I appreciate your confidence.
We're 1-0 right now in preseason. So if we retire now, we'll go in the Hall of Fame.
There you go, dude.
Yes.
That's where it all starts. It starts with that 1-0 in preseason.
Hey, have an amazing day. Light someone up today, as I know you always will. You're an inspiration to me. I love you, man, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, love you too, bud.
Okay,
see ya.
Peace. That's my best friend in the world from 4th grade. His name is Will. Let's see if we'll get the trifecta. We have had people actually answer today, which I think is so funny. I haven't talked to this guy in a bit of time, so let's see if he will actually answer my call. He's probably somewhere in the world making a huge difference, but I'm going to hope, and if not, what he'll do is he'll text me while the phone is ringing, like, "Hey, I'll call you back," and then he won't call me back, and then I'll have to call him back because of that.
Please leave your message for 214924528.
Oh, I almost gave out his phone number. I've got to be very careful with that. And let's try one other, which I think this is a great one. This is a great guy. I think should be a regular every single day, but he's responsible, has a job. And I was so excited this morning because I was thinking, man,
what's up, dude?
What are you doing, man?
Living the dream, baby.
Awesome. Why are you living the dream?
Am I on your podcast right now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I just said that you were responsible and you had a job, and that's why you probably weren't going to answer the phone. But
No, I answered because you and I have been playing phone tag for a minute.
I know it's wild because for those of you listening, this is my big brother, Rob. Everybody that got a chance to hear you, Rob, absolutely loves you. You're a fan favorite. But it's when I go 2 days without talking to you, it's weird for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I miss you, man.
I miss you too,
Proud of
brother. I'm proud of you, man. Hey, how gangster was Harlan the other day?
He was great, man. He was really, really cool. He had a lot of cool knowledge. My favorite was if you're not ready for trial, you're not prepared for settlement. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
So he was fantastic.
He was gangster. It was wild because I got off the phone with him off the podcast, right? So when I got off the podcast, he stayed on and we ended up talking, and I don't know if he said it on the podcast or not, but I mean, he was like best friends with Johnny Cochran and every attorney that you could think of. Just worked with those guys from the very beginning. And I asked him about you afterwards. I said, you've created this, this anomaly where it's like no advertisement, but every person that comes talks about you in a great way and sends their friends. And he's like, that's the only reason why people advertise in the first place, is to get to the place where your brother already is at. So just tell him, keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Keep waking up stressed out and freaked out about where the next client's going to come from.
That's a good one, huh? That's a great one. Hey, do you have a prediction as far as your Rams this year, as far as your record?
Yeah, let me. I mean, you know me. I'm going to piss off a lot of Rams fans when I say this, because you know me. I'm a cautious optimistic when it comes to my team. So let me just pull up my schedule here and see realistically like where I see us. I mean, because I follow a lot of Rams fans mostly on Twitter, but some on Instagram. And you've got, hey, we're going to go 13-4 or 14-3 or whatever. And I think that we are going to be good. But I also look at our schedule as being pretty tough. Obviously the Niners are going to be really good as they usually are, but our to start the season, we're on the road against the Lions. That's a tough game. I think we should have beat them in the playoffs last year. We just we kicked field goals and they scored touchdowns. But we got the Lions. We got the Niners. I think realistically we lose to the Niners twice a year. I mean, that's pretty standard for us. We got the Packers. We beat the Raiders. We beat the Bears. We beat the Cardinals probably twice. We'll beat the Vikings now that McCarthy's out. We probably split games with the Seahawks. We always lose to the Eagles at home. That's just a given.
Yeah.
We get the Bills, the Saints. I mean, I think, and we got the Jets. There, assuming Aaron Rodgers is healthy, that's a tough game. I think we're probably a realistically 10-7, 11-8 team.
10-7, 11,
that's where
18.
I can kind of see it playing out.
Okay.
Now, I mean, if we steal a game against the Niners, which I don't think we will. We never beat them in the regular season. But we're a good team.
Yeah.
And we're playing a really good division, and Stafford is healthy. Our receiving core is dynamic. We've got two good young running backs. Our defense got better. I wish Aaron Donald would come back for one final season, but I think we're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
So.
I think you guys are looking good. That's why I asked Will, and Will said that he thinks that the Eagles would be contending this year.
Yeah.
He thinks that he was calling the shot that they're going to beat the Cowboys twice. He doesn't care the margin. But they'll be contending. And then, I'm me, I'm very realistic when it comes to the Titans.
17-0.
Yeah. Home field, and we'll have a tough game in the Super Bowl, but we'll squeak it out. So, I really, but I've taken a lot of, thought into it and made sure that I'm rational about, my fandom. I'm actually wearing my AFC champion shirt that you got me right now.
Nice.
So I wanted to thank you for that. A thing that I did want to ask, I want to turn it to a serious part, and I want to turn it to your area of expertise and mastery. I've told so many of my friends, I was having a conversation with my brother, and for those of you who don't know, my brother is one of the top attorneys in Las Vegas, and I said, I was having a conversation with him, and he told me 4 things that a person should be prepared for the next accident that they haven't got in yet, car accident. And I said, you would be shocked. Every person I said, you would be shocked, because not one of my friends or even my family members or even myself, based off these 4 things that he talked about, were prepared for the next accident. And so they were like, what are they? And I said, well, you have to listen to the podcast and capture Rob. Because, he breaks it down. And so could you let us in on those things to get prepared for because for me, the preparation is like, if somebody has an accident, I'm like, seriously, just call my brother. I don't care if he takes your case or not, or he does it. He's going to make sure that you have the best care possible, even if it's not with him, which I think is amazing. But what would be those 4, Rob?
Yeah, so I got to give the credit where credit's due. My case manager, Diana Mendez, came up with a really cool idea to create a branded, think of it as a registration car insurance holder.
Okay.
That you put in your car in your glove compartment, right? Because for those of us who've been pulled over, like, obviously there's that nervous anxiousness of when you get pulled over, like, where's my registration? Where's my proof of insurance? You're shuffling around to find your driver's license. And so her idea was, let's create this registration holder where you can put your registration card, your insurance card, and also then she helped design a little insert that included our phone number and the 4 things that you should do in the event that you're in an accident. And so what we do is we provide that to every client during the outgoing process. We put their settlement funds within that, and then we explain what it is. And so it's something that people will utilize. It's practical, it's a practical thing that everybody can use, even if they don't like our brand being on it, even if they don't aren't necessarily happy on the out, as they're leaving the door. It's something that they can use, right? Because again, you put everything in there, you toss it in your glove compartment. So the first thing that we document or we tell people is, take photos of the vehicles. Don't be afraid to take photos of the intersection or the area of the accident. Obviously, taking photos of the other person's driver's license, their registration, their car insurance, if possible. The second thing is, again, kind of coincides with the photographs, but collect information from the other person. So nowadays, everybody has a cell phone, right? And everybody has a cell phone, and they use it to snap the photos. So it becomes very simplistic to be able to do that rather than writing down, the other person's information. And then the third thing I say is, like, call the police. It's always good to get police there to document the accident facts, particularly if you've got a non-rear end motor vehicle accident. If you get in a rear end accident, liability is usually going to be pretty clear. You're generally safe in getting, collecting that information, exchanging information as thorough as possible. But if you're in a non-rear end accident, like a T-bone, a side swipe, you believe the other person ran a red light or a stop sign, you're gonna absolutely want to call the police and get them on the scene to document it, because I'm in my 25th year of doing this, and I'd say in damn near 100% of the non-rear end accidents that we are involved in, 100% of the time the other person lies. People are just, they're untruthful. I mean, there are three things I've learned in this life: that people lie, lawyers lie, people on the golf course, golfers lie, and people that cause accidents lie. Like that, those are absolutes in this world. So lawyers lie, golfers lie, and people who cause accidents lie. And so, you want to get the police there if you can. And then, obviously, so the first, two things I talked about are really like, take photos and exchange information, call the police, and then seek medical treatment. But what we tell people is, call us, being the fourth thing. And so, generally speaking, you'd say call a lawyer, and we're really direct in our the materials we provide the client, like call us and here's our number. So if somebody were to get in an accident, right, and they know to just reach in their glove compartment, grab that little packet, it will have their registration, it will have their insurance card, and it will then immediately have the things that they need to do in the event they're in an accident to make it very simple. And I tell clients, friends, family, don't hesitate to call me from the scene. Call me or text me from the scene, and then I'll kind of walk them through. But it is a sort of a nerve-wracking scenario, right? You got adrenaline going. If you're a parent and your kids are in the vehicle, or if you're, your spouse is in the vehicle, you're concerned about other people and those sorts of things. So you got a lot of things going on, and so we try to simplify the steps, right? Just take photos, exchange information, seek medical treatment, but call us. And oftentimes, one of the main things that we can help people do is to get medical treatment that they need. And so I think that's the most important thing that the personal injury lawyer can do, practically speaking, for the client, is to help coordinate the medical treatment, because people might have health insurance, but some providers that take health insurance won't treat patients that are involved in accidents, because they don't. I think they'd like to avoid the med legal world.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with lawyers. Who does? No one wants to deal with lawyers. I don't want to deal with lawyers, right? Like, I look in the mirror and I'm disgusted sometimes, right?
You're the most lawyer that I've ever met. This was a thing that you touched on when we were having a conversation, and even you alluded to it just a second ago. You said you operate under the assumption that the other party will not be truthful.
Correct. They won't. They're going to lie. They could fall out of the car in a billow of pot smoke with beer cans falling out of their car. with a bag of money and a gun that they just used to rob a bank. And the police could show up, cite them, arrest them, take them to jail. And all they've got to do is tell their insurance adjuster, who is not a human being, that the other person caused the accident because a purple unicorn fell from the sky. And that insurance adjuster is going to believe verbatim, word for word, what their idiot insured tells them, to deny liability or try to place blame on the innocent person. And that's just what happens. I mean, we've had people that rear end our clients say, "Oh no, they put their car in reverse and crashed into the front of me at an intersection," right? Like, you get people to lie, or you don't get them to lie; they just do. And so, one of the things that you have to do this day and age is to be a little proactive and be on the defensive. I mean, if you can get dash cams, in your vehicles, I think every vehicle on the road nowadays should have a dash cam, because it would eliminate a lot of the ambiguities or the disputes, right? Like, we've had so many cases over the years where the other person just flat out lies, and then our client, we show the insurance adjuster our client's dash cam, or there's a good Samaritan, a witness who has a dash cam that happens to stop and say, "Hey, I've got it video recorded," right? And even then they won't admit fault. But so you've got to take your own precautionary measures. Like, gone are the days where we can just assume that everyone else is going to be responsible, right? And that goes for everything in life, right? Yeah. So, if you're on the road, if you're a driver, if you are a registered driver, wherever your listeners are, whatever state they are, I would implore everybody to talk to their insurance agent and get underinsured motorist coverage added to their policy, medical payment coverage added to their policy. Depending on the state you're in, you could get personal injury protection, which is PIP coverage. Get that added to your policy. And what I've learned over the years is that the insurance agent business is one of the few industries in the world that don't try to upsell you, right? Like, remember McDonald's came up with this supersize concept, right? You go, if you want that supersize, you go to have a meal at any restaurant. They want you to order a drink, an appetizer, a meal, a side, a dessert, would you like an espresso on the way out, right? They're constantly trying to upsell you, like, in every business, right? Well, the insurance industry is the only one that I know of that doesn't try to upsell you. In fact, they try to keep you at the lowest minimum level possible. So every state in the United States has state minimum requirements for insurance to be deemed full coverage, right? Well, they're not full coverage; they're just full of shit. It just meets the minimum standard, that is established within the state. So if you get quote unquote full coverage, is bullshit coverage, you might not have rental coverage. If you might have liability only, meaning if you get hit by another car who doesn't have insurance, or is a hit and run, you're asked out. Nobody's fixing your car. Your car isn't getting fixed. Your car isn't going to get a total loss payout because you don't have the appropriate coverage available. So what the insurance agents, right, because it's such a price-driven business, right? It's such a volume business because everybody's shopping car insurance, right? Like you and I included. You're looking for the best rate. And then heaven forbid, not heaven forbid, but once our kids start driving, right, like your rates get quadrupled because the kids are on the policy. So people are constantly shopping for that best price point, right? And the insurance agents know this, and they don't want to lose your business. So they oftentimes don't discuss the coverages that you're going to need. They discuss the coverages that meet that minimum standard, that are going to be affordable to allow them to keep your business and keep churning their volume level business, right? And so what people need to have, everybody on the road needs to have underinsured motorist coverage. And that is coverage that in the event you're in an accident and the other person does not have insurance, or they're a hit and run, then you will have underinsured, uninsured motorist coverage to address your injury claim, right?
Yeah.
Or in the event the person has doesn't have enough coverage, right? Has either a state minimum or doesn't have enough coverage to address or compensate you for your losses, then under the law, they would be deemed underinsured, and then you can go and make a claim under your own policy to seek recovery. Now, the beautiful thing about underinsured motorist coverage is you're paying that separate premium for it, so you don't get penalized if you use it, right? Because the number one question that people have when we're dealing with them is, well, hey, if I use this coverage, are my rates going to increase? And the answer is no. You pay a separate premium for this, right? Like, it's like health insurance, right? You hope that you never have to use it, but it's there if you need it. So why wouldn't you use it, right? So everybody should be driving around everybody should have underinsured motorist coverage. Now, again, your agent is unlikely to offer that or ask you about it or discuss it with you, because it will raise your premium, right? Like, it just makes sense, right? You're getting better coverage. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's not cost determined. It's not something that is going to break the bank, right? And it's something that you need, particularly in a community like ours, Las Vegas, where you have a high incidence of uninsured motorists, people on the road that don't have insurance, people that are underinsured, meaning they don't have enough, lots of DUI drivers, we have lots of visitors, right? People that are flying into Vegas and renting a car, and they've got minimum coverage, right? We've got a lot of people who are coming from out of the country, right? And they're in a rental car and they cause an accident. Well, how are you going to go after them, right? If they don't have coverage, or if they do have a minimum amount of coverage through that rental policy. Yeah. So you're absolutely going to want that. And the other part of it too is, let's say you and your wife, you and Brooklyn are driving with Maddox and McKenna, and you guys get in a car accident, and the person who causes the accident has minimum policy. Now you've got 4 people that have sustained injury, that have compensable loss, that might not be covered, or not necessarily covered, but their losses aren't going to be adequately addressed with that add versus minimum policy. So you can then tap into your underinsured motorist coverage that will apply for all the people within your vehicle. The other part that's great, again, depending on the state, is that underinsured motorist coverage would apply as long as there's a vehicle involved. So if you're walking in a pedestrian crosswalk and a car hits you, underinsured motorist coverage could apply. Really? If you're on a bicycle and you get hit by a car, underinsured motorist coverage could apply, right? So it's great coverage to have. And then the other one that I mentioned earlier in Nevada and as well as California is medical payment coverage. And medical payment coverage is similar to health insurance in that there's a policy limit. And if you get in an accident independent of fault, so whether you cause it or somebody else causes it, you can utilize medical payment coverage up to that limit to pay for any medical treatment or bills that you incur. Now, your insurance adjuster or agent, rather, the first question they're going to ask, if you say, "Hey, I want medical payment coverage," they're going to ask you, do you have health insurance? And you're going to, if you do, you might say, yeah. And then they'll try to discourage you from getting medical payment coverage because they'll say, oh, you got health insurance, so you don't really need this extra layer. But again, it's coverage that they know you need. They just don't want to sell it to you because your premium it will raise, and then you'll get, oh my God, well, I can go to a different company and get the full of shitty, state minimum, and my premium will be lower, right? And those are going to be situations that you ultimately regret, right? Because in the event you're in an accident involving somebody that's a hit and run or doesn't have insurance, or here's another scenario. Let's say you don't have comprehensive or collision coverage. You just have liability only, meaning you have the state minimum, right? Quote unquote, full coverage, which is just full of shit coverage. If you are in an accident and the other party denies liability and they say, hey, it's not our fault. Because again, I go back to everybody lies. Again, lawyers, golfers, people who cause accidents, they're going to lie, right? And they're going to say, it wasn't my fault. And the insurance adjuster, the insurance companies, they're not in the business of paying money. They're in the business of taking people's money and then fucking them when they need it. Sorry, just get a little fired up about the shit. So what happens is that they deny the claim. Now your car isn't getting fixed because you don't have your own coverage, and there's nothing you can do to force the other insurance company to pay for your vehicle. So let's say you get T-boned, your car gets towed to a storage yard. You don't have towing under your policy. You don't have rental coverage under your policy, and you don't have comprehensive collision coverage, which means nobody's towing your vehicle from the storage yard. And so now it's going to accrue, fees every day. Nobody's going to pay to fix your vehicle, and nobody's going to give you a rental. So now what's going to happen? And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have the resources to pay out of pocket to get their car out of storage. And if the car is a total loss, I mean, what are they going to do with it anyway, right? So again, gone are the days where we can assume everyone else is going to be responsible. We have to take it upon ourselves. It's just the world in which we live. We've got to do it. People have to do it. It's there to protect you, protect your family, protect anyone that's in your vehicle. If you're transporting kids and other people's kids to basketball games or soccer games, you better make sure that you have underinsured motorist coverage. Medical payment coverage is great additional coverage to have. So sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, I love it. And I want to go into that part. I want to dig a little bit deeper, if you're okay, because we were talking one day and you were telling me there's a lot of times when a person gets in an accident and they rub some dirt on it, minimize it, and they won't go get coverage. And at first I was like, well, that's what a lawyer is supposed to say. That's what I was thinking in my head. Like, that's what a lawyer, but you explained this to me because there's so many people that don't go and treat. And what's your stance on that? Or what is your thought process in that? I mean, obviously you don't treat when it's not needed, but in most cases, when you get into an accident, you want to get the best counsel possible on to treat or not to treat. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a physician or medical provider. I can't provide medical opinions. I will say this: I never tell clients or anyone to treat, and I would never tell anybody not to treat. But what I would say is that if you're in an accident, nobody knows your body better than you do. But it is, there's no disadvantage to getting evaluated, right? There's nothing wrong with going to get checked out to make sure that you're okay. And I tell clients all the time, listen, if you go and get evaluated and you call me in a couple days or next week and say you're totally fine and you're, ready to be done, then God bless you. Like, nothing in this world is more important than your health. And that's the absolute priority. And that should be the focus. Now, that's a little counterproductive for somebody who works on a contingency fee basis, right? But the reality is I want people to be okay. So go get evaluated. Now, again, if and I've dealt with several people over the years, many people over the years, they get in an accident and they're like, look, honestly, man, I'm totally fine. I feel great. I don't need any eval. All right, cool. Like, I would never tell somebody, no, you got to go treat. I think that's unethical. I think it's improper. I think it's inappropriate. I also would never tell somebody to stop treating, right? We have several scenarios where we have conversations with clients to say, hey, listen, like, there is not enough insurance coverage available for you to continue to treat under this case, or they've offered their policy limits. So we can't continue to approve treatment under what's called a lien, because the case, for all intents and purposes, is resolved. But I'm not telling you to stop treating altogether. I'm just saying, as it relates to this particular case and under this particular case, treatment under a lien can no longer be approved, right? So I think there's nothing wrong with going to get evaluated. And we have this conversation a lot with parents, right? Parents that, they have young kids that are in the car, infants or younger kids that are in their vehicles. And I always, as a dad, right? Hey, if I was in an accident, if my kids were in the car, you better believe they're going to get evaluated, right? Because I just want to make sure they're okay. I want peace of mind knowing that they're okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's men, right? We tend to be a little bit more stubborn when it comes to injury. Although if we get a cold, you think we're going to fucking die, like we just got the bubonic plague, right? We got pestilence, right? But with an injury, it's like, no, I'm fine. I feel okay. But so with a lot of men clients, a lot of our male clients, it's like, hey man, listen, I know you're a tough guy, or I know you gotta work, but you gotta be healthy, because if you're not healthy, it could impact your life, which could impact, and your job, which impacts your finances, which could impact your marriage or your other relationships. So, go get evaluated, right? Like, it's not convenient. Getting in an accident is super inconvenient. It's super frustrating. And it's the medical process and the treatment is there and it's available to you to get you better, right? And not to be abused or not to be done for purposes of building a case, right? It's just to get better. And that's really what our focus is. Like, having a boutique practice where we are selective of who our clients are and which cases we handle makes it so much nicer. The quality of life is nicer, both personally and professionally, because we really get to take great care of each client, and we know them on a more personal level, and we're able to really, give them solid advice and guidance individually, right? Rather than having, a shit ton of business that we don't even know what's going on their files. And it just makes for a nice quality of life, a nice quality of business. And, I think we're able to take better care of our clients. Like, it's not what we do and the way we do it isn't for everybody. And I'm not by any means saying that we do it we're the best or we do it better than anybody. But I will say, I made this comment. I got an opportunity to speak in front of several doctors at a little luncheon earlier this week, and I said, "Listen, I tend to be pretty humble because life has humbled me. But on some level, I have to have a little edge or a little bit of narcissism and ego in terms of what I do, right? I have to believe in what I do. And I can unequivocally state to you that nobody can combine the litigation experience and customer service that we provide. And that's us. That's our marketing advantage. That's what I think sets us apart. And what is it about that that allows me to make that statement is my people. I have the best team in the world. I literally have the best people that I work with. They don't work for me. We work together. And I'm just incredibly blessed to have them, to be able to work alongside them. And so our people is what makes us great. And I freaking love what I do.
Well, this was one too, Rob, that I want to rewind back. You said the statement to me, and it hit me because there's so many DIY people out there. And we grew up this way with Pops. Like, it was like, don't shave the dog. We're not going to take it to a groomer. You're going to shave it yourself. We're going to make a Western bacon cheeseburger at home with Dad. It never tasted the same. So there's a lot of times where people will take their accident into their own hands. And you said this statement, and I stopped. I remember stopping, and I was like, wait a second, I got to write this down. You said never talk to the other insurance company, especially within 24 hours of the accident. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, the insurance companies aren't your friend, and they're not there to take care of you. They're not a good neighbor. You're not in good hands. They want you to pay your premium, and they will dispute, diminish, and deny at every moment they can. And they're going to delay, they're going to deny. And when you need them is when they're going to reject your claim, deny coverage, deny responsibility. It's what they do. And so there's no benefit whatsoever in talking to the insurance company without first consulting with a lawyer, because what they're going to do is they're going to try to take advantage of you. And they're going to do it like they're trained to do this. They're trained to make you feel like they're going to take good care of you. And they're not. It's not their job. Their job is not to pay you money. Their job is to fuck you.
You mean Chris Paul isn't going to show up at your house and with Jake from State Farm and just hang out with you and make sure that everything's good?
No. Now again, part of it is I'm a cynic. You know me. I tend to be a little critical, but what their job is to get information, document, so that they can ultimately diminish or deny your claim. Okay. And they are trained to ask questions in a manner that will elicit responses to support their diminishment or denial of your claim. Okay. So even when they're talking to their own insured who caused the accident, right, they're asking questions in a way that will elicit responses from their own insured to support the diminishment or denial of the claims. As an example, let's say the other driver pulls out in front of you as you're driving down the street and T-bones your car. Okay. Mm-hmm. They get cited for pulling out, failure to yield the right of way. Right. They admit to the police officer at the scene that, yeah, I was intending to turn left out of my apartment complex and I T-boned the other person, and they get cited. Well, when they talk to their insurance company, right? Like our office is going to contact their insurance company and say, hey, we're opening up a claim. This is what happened. And, your insured was cited. And so what they'll do is they'll call their insured driver. Hey, what happened? And they're insured, assuming that the person is going to be honest, which again, I already told you they're not going to be, right? But let's assume we have the unicorn that is actually honest and says, yeah, I was pulling out of my apartment complex, attending to turn left, and just I didn't see the guy and I T-boned him, right? Which again, they're not going to do because they're going to lie. But assuming they were honest in that particular context, the adjuster is going to then ask questions like, well, do you know how fast the other guy was going? I don't know. I didn't see him. Well, do you think he could have been speeding? I don't know. It's possible. Okay, so then they tell me, yeah, we think your guy was speeding. So he's partially at fault. What? Like, and so that's the kind of nonsense that we deal with, right? And so if you as an individual, right, contact the insurance company, the opposing insurance company on your own, they are not there, again, understand, they're not there to simply document the information to accept and process your claim in a fair manner. They're there to deny, diminish, right, and delay. That's what they do, okay? And the last thing on earth they want to have happen is you to speak with a lawyer, because now it's an even playing ground. Because let's assume you called and you were injured. Hey, do you have any injury? Yeah. Have you treated? Yeah, I went by ambulance to the hospital. Oh, do you have health insurance? And they're gonna say, and which in Nevada is none of their freaking business, right? But then their next line of inquiry is going to be, well, hey, listen, you've got health insurance, so just send us copies of your EOBs, your explanation of benefits, and we'll take care of everything, right? So then the person thinks, oh, they're gonna pay for my medical bills, they're gonna pay for my treatment.
Oh my
and so if you're one of these people who is, smells the roses and believes in the beauty of everybody and the honesty of everybody, which again, you shouldn't. And you go along with them and you send them an EOB. Well, we all know how health insurance works, right? Like you go to the hospital, the bill's $20,000, but you've got good health insurance, and health insurance paid the hospital $1,000, right? Well, the insurance adjuster is going to say, oh, well, your bill is $1,000. So we'll give you $3,000. And then the person is going to say, well, does that cover my medical bills? Yeah, that addresses your medical bills. Cool. I didn't need a lawyer. Who said it? I didn't need a lawyer. I didn't need a scumbag ambulance chaser. They were just going to take my money. I got $3,000 and my bills are paid, right? That's what they're going to assume. And meanwhile, the adjuster is like dipshit, right? Because now this guy gets his $3,000. They make him sign a release. So now the case is over. And lo and behold, what happens is if you recover money on a personal injury case and your health insurance is paid, your health insurance is owed that $1,000 out of your settlement that you recovered. So your health insurance company is going to come to you and say, hey, Kelly, we understand you got a settlement. You owe us $1,000. And you're going to be like, oh, okay. Well, that's not right. Insurance company told me that this took care of all my medical bills. Well, no, that's not the law. So you got to pay us $1,000. Okay. Well, here's $1,000. So now I'm down to $2,000. Well, the other entities, the hospital, the ambulance, whatever other entities that have bills, they might have outstanding balances. Because you know how it is. You go to a medical provider, just because you have health insurance doesn't mean it's covered 100%. If it is, great, but there might be outstanding balances. Maybe you had a deductible that you didn't meet. Maybe you got a copay that the hospital is holding on to. So let's say, just like hypothetically, there's a balances out there of another $1,000. Well, you got to pay those. So now you're lucky if you get left with $1,000, right? If that. That's a crude example, because most oftentimes you're dealing with numbers that are much larger than that in terms of what's outstanding. And so what happens when people try to navigate it on their own, they're going to get taken advantage of. They're not going to get a fair market value on their claim, and they could potentially be left in the hole or left holding the bag on some of these outstanding things. And just listen, statistically speaking, I don't know the specific statistic. I don't know the study that was done, but I can just tell you that historically and statistically, having a personal injury lawyer generally results in a better gross result than if you did it on your own. And I want to quantify that by saying gross, the gross settlement versus the net number to the client, right? And then that's really going to depend on the capability of your lawyer. In the personal injury realm, there's no disadvantage whatsoever to having a good lawyer. There's no disadvantage to having a good lawyer in a personal injury scenario because we all work under a contingency. I think it's funny. What I find funny is here locally, right? Like we have so much advertising, but everybody and your guy the other day hit the nail on the head when he was like, they all do the same thing, right? They all say the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
It's true. And so like here in Las Vegas, there's a million the best, right? Like everybody's the best. Like, you know how humbling and humiliating it is for me to like drive around and see a million billboards proclaiming that they're the best, everybody's the best, and I got to explain to my kids why I'm not the best, or
hey, they know that you're the best, especially your 16-year-old boy who has his mom drive him all the way to California just to get a haircut. So they know.
Well, actually, he's 17 today.
I know it's his birthday. I shouted him out on Inchstones this morning,
okay.
So make sure that he listens to it. I told him I love him, told him happy birthday. So
cool. But my point is that like, you know, everybody is the best, right? Everybody is the greatest, right? And you have all of this, you know, you have all of these advertisements and people are just inundated with all of this information. And what I find funny is it's like the advertisement is no fee unless we win, or, you know, we don't take a fee unless we win. It's like, dude, that's what we all do. Like, we're all doing the same fucking thing. Like, but it's just brilliant, right? It's just brilliant. It's brilliant marketing.
yeah.
It's very effective. It works great. And there's a lot of really, really good lawyers and law firms who do advertise. Tons of good ones.
Yeah.
Right? Like tons of, you know, very, very, very skilled, way more skilled than I am, much, much better lawyers than I am that do it. And so my point is that, again, if you have a good lawyer, there's no disadvantage, right? Because it doesn't cost you anything to hire the lawyer, right?
Yeah.
What it ultimately comes out. So if we're all operating under the same fee structure, right? The fee structure being that contingency fee,
mm-hmm.
and the standard for the types of firms that you're going to want to deal with is always going to be a third. It's always going to be a third,
okay.
right, of the gross settlement. So if we're all operating under the same fee structure, right, you're getting what you pay for. What we focus on, and what I think clients should focus on, which they, you know, most don't, is the service that you're going to be provided during your claim, right? Like very, very rarely is a client ever going to remember how much money they got at the end of their case. They're going to remember how they were made to feel throughout the process,
yeah.
right? I mean, shit, the client might not even remember the lawyer's name, right? I was humbled a little bit this morning because we handled a case back in 2019 and got an excellent result for a client, and had great rapport with the client. And I thought we had done a good job. And this morning I got an email from a local firm, a really good firm, and he's actually a friend of mine. Thank God this individual ended up with a really good firm and a really good lawyer. Their firm saying, hey, they've been retained by this guy, and they understood we represented him back in 2019, and they requested as a courtesy if we could provide them with a copy of his medical file, which I was like more than happy to do, because that's what we should do. Number one, because you want what's best for the client, independent of, whether it was a past client versus a current client. Also because he ended up landing it with a great firm, but it was humbling in that, oh shit, he didn't come back to us. So we didn't do our job, right? So that was a humbling learning experience, something that we can build on. But ultimately, I am okay with it because he ended up in a good place. Had a different firm or a different lawyer contacted us, that might have made me feel even worse. But again, there is no risk. The last thing that the insurance company wants you to do if you're in an accident is to talk to a lawyer, because the playing field now becomes even. And I tell clients all the time, listen, the two questions I always ask are, do you need help, and can we help? And if I answer those two in the affirmative, I'd love to step in and help you. And you're going to need help, whether it's me and our firm, which we love, or it's somebody else. You should go get help. You should get help. It doesn't cost you anything, right? And the result for you is going to be better if you have a good lawyer, right?
So
it's not going to be worse.
This may sound like a morbid question, but it got me thinking, should a person, like McKenna's just about to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't have this because I have you. And if you're in California or you're in Nevada, there's a network that can take care of you with you. But if I was in my same scenario, McKenna's 15 years old, about to get her license in December, and I didn't have you, this again sounds morbid, but should I interview personal injury attorneys to gain a relationship so that way, in the event that happens, I already know who to call?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think that's necessary. No, I think, we joke internally here that if people in our community don't know a lawyer or don't have a relationship with somebody that can refer them, give them a solid referral, it means that they don't want a lawyer. Right? So like what I would say to you or to anybody, and I say this to all clients, both incoming and outgoing, I say it is, if you ever need anything, if you ever need any help with anything, it doesn't have to be personal. If it's heaven forbid you're ever in another accident, please call me. If any of your loved ones or friends are in an accident, no matter where it is within the United States, call me. Now, I'm not saying I'm legally only allowed to practice law. I'm licensed only in Nevada. But I would do my best to try to help you and help you navigate that. So part of what we're doing a lot of times is communicating with people to identify, again, whether do you need help, can we help you, and if I can't for whatever reason, can I get you to somebody that I trust will take care of you in a manner that I would take care of you.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So to your listeners, to your friends, I mean, if it doesn't matter where you're at, if you needed assistance, you needed guidance, you have a question, you can always reach out. You can always call me. Again, if I can help you, I'll do my best to help you. If I can't, I try to network. I try to connect, try to be a connector of people. Because ultimately, what I believe I'm here to do on this earth is to be a service to people and help others. And I get to do it on a daily basis. And that's why I love what we do. I mean, I love what we do. We're not sending a bill to a client for services. We're not chasing our money. We are providing a service. We're protecting our clients. And then, the hope is that we're creating an end result for them where all of their medical bills are paid and they get more money than their lawyer, which I think is the right and fair thing to have happen.
Do you think that it would be strange though? I mean, say a woman, and I'm not saying that everyone in Las Vegas, which there are a lot of people that listen to the podcast in Las Vegas, if a mom or a dad was to be like, my daughter again I would love to come in and meet Rob for 5 minutes to see, if you've listened to the podcast before, you understand. If you've heard me talk at all, or you had me around you, you're going to hear me talk about my hero, who's my big brother, who happens to be one of the top attorneys in Las Vegas. If they came in to your office and they said, we don't have a case right now, but we wanted to know in the event that we had one, how I would be treated, whatever it was, would you find that strange?
It'd be weird. Yeah.
Would you be?
It'd be weird. Dude, I love meeting with people. I got diarrhea of the mouth, dude. Like if you get me more than a cup of coffee, I'll fucking run my mouth for hours on end. No, I love meeting with people. I love talking with people. I'm happy to jump on the phone or schedule a time to meet with somebody. But, I think in large part, our business has been built on word of mouth anyway.
Yeah.
So it's, most of the time we're meeting with the client, that initial consult process is simplified on some level because they've been it's a personal referral, or there's a personal connection.
Uh-huh.
And so oftentimes what we hear is, hey, so-and-so sent me here. I trust them. I trust you. Or, hey, I'm good. Like I totally, you're my guy, whatever. Or, you're our firm. Like it does help to simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if somebody, if somebody was in an accident, and wanted to talk, great.
Yeah.
I think it would be a little strange if somebody was like, hey, I just want to meet with you and see if something happens, you'd be my guy. Like, I don't know that that's even necessary.
Well, I want to encourage, this would be, Rob's not saying this, but I would encourage it, because if you met Taylor, Diana, tell me, is it Veronica?
Veronica. Yeah.
So Veronica, Diana, Taylor, Rob, if you went into their law firm and you met with them, you just got to meet them, feel the vibe and the culture of what it is that they're doing. In the event that you had any challenge, there would be absolutely no question who you would be with and that you would be safe. And so Rob, I know Rob's probably like, dude, I'm going to have 50 lunch, lunch dates or whatever it is. But I tell you, like, seriously, because most of the time, if you get into an injury or into an accident, like Rob was saying earlier, you're going to be emotional. You're going to be in a place where, Mike Tyson says, we all have a plan until we get punched in the mouth. When you get punched in the mouth, sometimes your mind isn't going to all these steps or stages, but I would say the preemptive part, he's not saying it, I'm saying it. These are the questions, Rob, if you can answer these for me, kind of rapid fire, is there's 3 questions that generally most of the people that have an accident, God forbid you have one, but at some point, a family member, yourself, whatever is going to have it. And they always ask the very similar questions. Number 1, how long is this going to take? Number 2, what will happen if I lose? And number 3, what is my case worth?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
what are the answers to those? How do you deal with that? Because if I come in, I'm sitting down with you, I'm like, how long is it going to take, Rob?
Yeah, I would start by saying this, like, honestly, like we're not for everybody and everybody's not for us. So like if you're that person who has been in a wreck and needs a check and is looking to for an identification of what the case value is immediately, like how much you're going to get, like I'm not your guy. I keep it real simple. Do you need help? Can I help you? So again, we're not for everybody. Not every client is for us. I mean, that's one of the beauties of being the boutique style practice that we are, is that we can be selective. We take cases sometimes where we know that there isn't going to be any monetary result for us whatsoever, but I've answered in the affirmative those two questions. Do they need help? Can I help them? Right? Where we're just getting involved as a professional courtesy in a formal manner to help them, right? To help them navigate something that is a little overwhelming. So if, depending on the context and the tone, if somebody were to ask, like genuinely ask, hey, how long is this going to take? Which is a completely legitimate inquiry, and it's, top two most popular. It's how long is it going to take and what's my case worth? How long it's going to take it depends on. I'm going to give a very lawyerly response. It depends. It depends on the duration of your treatment. It depends on how injured you are. It depends on the liability assessment. It depends sometimes even on what the policy limit is. Sometimes you could be really, really injured and in need of a lot of care, but the policy limit is low and the case gets wrapped up pretty quickly or relatively quickly or sooner than you would think it would, because we move pretty efficiently and the policy limits have been tendered, and it is what it is. It's all there is to get, right? And so we have those conversations. So it could last several months. It could last several years. It just really depends on a case by case basis, right? What the value of a case is, and that's again, depending on the context. If it's that person that's sitting across going like, how much you think I'm going to get, then I've identified this isn't the client for us, or rather, we're not the firm for you, right? Like, there's plenty of people out there that would love to take your case and that would love to answer that question. I'm not going to answer that question. What's the case? The value of a case, I tell people all the time, the value of a case is what a client will accept, what a jury or an arbitrator will award, or sometimes what the policy limit is, right? I mean, you could have a case with traumatic injury that could be potentially worth millions of dollars, but there's a $25,000 policy. So what's the case worth? The case is worth $25,000, unfortunately, right? To be real, like realistic, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that the case isn't worth millions of dollars. It's worth way more than $25,000. What I'm saying is, like, there's only a $25,000 policy. There's nothing else to get. Like, yeah, you could run an asset check, or you could maybe get a judgment against the person, but you ain't gonna squeeze blood from a turnip, man. So this is the policy limit, right? And those are hard conversations to have. But what I tell clients all the time is that, look, if somebody in the very initial consult or very early on in your case told you what your case is worth, you should run, because they're not being honest with you. Now, so again, I give the very lawyerly response. If I feel like the context of that inquiry is appropriate and the person is genuinely just like, what do you think this is worth? I'll tell you, it's a different form of question, but oftentimes what we get is it really even worth it, right? Which is kind of their way of asking what's this worth, right? Meaning, like, okay, like the bills and the treatment, is everything going to be too high? Is it really even worth your time and getting involved, right? Or, and what I have to set their mind at ease is to say, listen, like, I don't know what the value of your case is right now as I sit here. At some point in time, I hope to be able to tell you that. And at some point in time, I even hope to tell you what you can expect to receive as a net in your pocket, but I can't do that right Again, the value of your case is going to be dependent on many factors. Liability. Did they accept it? Are they disputing it? Your injuries, your medical bills, your medical treatment, the duration of your claim. And it's sad to say and admit, your property damage plays a role in the evaluation of what your case is worth. In other words, if there's a very, very little damage to your vehicle, it could impact the value of your case. But with that being said, I've had clients in rollover accidents who walked away and dusted themselves off and been fine, and I've had people get, a little touch in a parking lot that end up needing lots of treatment. So there's a large spectrum of that. But again, what's my case worth? Is as long as I feel like the context is appropriate, the framing of the question is appropriate, and their heart is in the right place when they're asking that, I will explain it that way. Again, can't give you that right now. At some point, I hope to, but it's dependent on many, many factors. And then, what was your third question? I'm sorry.
The third question was,
I think it was actually the first.
Well, what will happen? It was the second question, which was what will happen if I lose?
Oh yeah. So, again, that's one of the beautiful things about the contingency scenario, right? Like when we're doing our intake and I'm trying to set people's mind at ease, and sometimes I fail to communicate this as effectively as I should, because sometimes you know how it is, right? You've been doing your thing for so long, and you just assume everybody knows how it works, right? And on some level, it's just like, hey, man, I'm really good at what I do. Let me just do what I do, and you're going to be fine, right? But not everybody. There's lots and lots of people that need an explanation, and quite frankly, they're deserving of an explanation, right? If there's any level of miscommunication, that's on me. That's my failure to communicate. So, sometimes it's just I won't even get into that, and then the client at the very end of it, right? We've gone through everything, and they'll go, okay, well, how do I pay you? And then I'm like, oh, I failed, right? Like I should have explained that from the outset. Like, let me set your mind at ease, right? Because we've all been in those situations, right? When we're like, we think we like something that we want to purchase, and then we don't know what the true price is, and then the whole time they're talking to us, all we're thinking of is, oh shit, this is gonna be expensive, right? And so again, what I try to do, and I don't do it all the time, and I do fail on occasion, to set the client's mind at ease, is like, that's the beauty of the contingency fee. All personal injury lawyers work under a contingency fee. There's only a fee if there's a win. How do I characterize or define win? A win to me is a settlement that you approve where all the bills are paid and you get more than the lawyer. That's a successful settlement to me, right? If we lose, there is no fee, and all the costs that we've spent, all the time that we've spent, all the money that we've spent out of our own pocket to push the case along, requesting records or police report or spending money, that goes down the toilet too. If we lose, the client never gets an invoice from me. They never get a bill from me.
Yeah. So
again, going back to what I say, there's no disadvantage in having a good lawyer represent you in a personal injury, a good personal injury lawyer. Okay. And that's where people need to be really careful. You don't want a general practitioner. You don't want a jack of all trades. You want that guy or girl that's what they do, right? Like, you want a personal injury lawyer. You don't want the other lawyer who does a ton of other stuff, right? No disrespect to them. And I'm not saying that I'm better than them. I'm just saying this is all I fucking do, right? So this is what we eat, sleep, and breathe. Like, there's nothing else that we do. So there's no disadvantage to having that good personal injury lawyer, because there's really no risk, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are interviewing lawyers, which happens a lot. Like I get quote unquote interviewed on occasion. And I can always pick up on it. They're lawyer shopping, right?
Yeah.
Because the first thing they'll start with is, what's your fee? Which I think, okay, this person is wanting me to know that they're all educated, but you're not educated, because if you're educated, you know that we all work under a contingency fee. So, all right, but I'll answer it. It's a third. What everybody's is. Okay. So now they feel like somehow that should play a factor in your decision-making process. Seriously, if you're going to make a decision on hiring a personal injury lawyer based on an attorney fee that's a contingency, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. If I was to say to you, Kelly, you can bring your family to Vegas for the weekend and you can stay at Motel 6 on Tropicana across the street from MGM Grand, or you could stay at the Bellagio. Which would you? And it's going to be the same price. What are you going to pick?
Bellagio. It's easy.
Right. That's easy, right? It's easy. So, again, there's no risk. There's only advantage, but go with the personal injury lawyer. But if you're going to interview and you're going to vet your lawyer, right? Which I think is an awesome thing to do. And I think it's the right thing to do. And it happens with us a lot. Like, people come and they're lawyer shopping, or they're genuinely like trying to interview multiple different lawyers to figure out who to go with. I love having those conversations because it's an opportunity for me to sort of hone some communication skills, but it's also an opportunity for me to help give them information. I know 9 times out of 10 that client isn't coming to us because we're not for them, right? But if you are going to vet your lawyer, and what I always tell people is, okay, number one, start with, are they a personal injury lawyer? Is it what they do? And that's, in this day and age, it's very simple. You can just go online and figure that shit out, right? Although while I say that, my website is currently down. Business is fucking going so well. But, I'm kidding. But you start with that inquiry, right? Second of all, is are you going to deal with a lawyer, or are you going to deal with a non-lawyer through the duration of your claim, right? Because most often what happens is that if the client's lucky, they meet with a lawyer on intake. If they're lucky, right? Now, the lawyers are the ones who should be handling the intake, but we all within the business know that that's not always what takes place. But if the client's lucky, they meet with a lawyer on intake. Thereafter, who is really running their file? Is it a non-lawyer? Is it a case manager? Is it a legal assistant? Right? Because what the inquiry really should be is like, what's the communication going to be like between myself and your office?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I would want to deal with a lawyer, but that's just me, right?
Uh-huh.
I would want the communication to come from the lawyer, but as long as there's consistency in communication. So is there effective communication? Because you and I talk about this all the time. Like, the only way in any relationship to build trust is through communication. And so if you want an effective, successful attorney-client relationship, you have to have trust. And in order to have trust, you have to have good communication. And the number one knock on all lawyers is we don't communicate, right? Mm-hmm. So that becomes the focus of our practice. That's what we focus on, is our communication. Like I can tell you that if we do one thing well, and I'm not saying we do everything or even anything other than this, is we communicate. And I've had a couple clients over the years, maybe one or two, that have tried to, accuse me of not communicating. And those are the ones that I've kind of brought me like a healthy laugh, because I'm like, bro, if we do one thing right, it's we communicate. Right? So is the communication going to be solid, right? Because the client is going to have lots of questions. And internally, one of our goals internally that we set for our team is we never want the client to have to reach out to ask what's going on their case, right? And again, I'll say that we never want the client to have to reach out to ask what's going on with their case. I have no problem with clients reaching out, checking in. I love the communication. Again, that's what the focus of our practice and services. Our competitive advantage in this is our communication, right? Our client communication, our client satisfaction, our customer service, right? But if there's not that effective communication between the lawyer or the law firm and the client, then you don't have that good trust or any trust at all. And ultimately, I'm going to be giving you recommendations or suggestions. And if you don't trust what I'm saying, are we going to be able to create a good result? Or even if objectively the result is fantastic, but you leave wondering, right? Mm-hmm. Like he said it was good, and I think it was okay, but I'm just not really sure because I don't necessarily trust that guy, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's bad. So, I don't know if that addressed your question or not, but
no, it does. It absolutely does.
In terms of interviewing the lawyer, which is good, and then you can ask those other sort of questions that you just asked, like the normal questions. How long do you think this will last? What do you think my case is worth? But I think ultimately, if you're doing, and again, the first line of inquiry is, are they really a personal injury lawyer? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty easy. People can, again, Google it, whatever. You can figure out is this what they do? And then, but if you're really meeting with somebody, like, who am I going to be dealing with? Who am I going to be communicating with?
Yeah.
And that, because again, the service component is what is, in my opinion, is what is really important, because again, you could have a really terrific objective result, but if you didn't do your job in communicating with the client and they leave thinking, I don't know that I trust them, or I didn't like the way I was treated, but shit, you got a great result. Like, that person probably ain't going back.
Nope.
Right? Even though they got a great result. So that's why I say, like, they rarely remember what they got. They remember how they were made to feel.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that. I mean, the results are going to take care of, the results going to take care of themselves. Like, the claim is the claim is the claim. The value is the value. Again, like, what you accept, what a jury would award, what the policy limits are. And so,
Well, you're very humble in it too, though, because, you said your competitive advantage is that service and communication, but also too, me knowing you and knowing that you've worked both sides. You've worked in the insurance defense side, and have relationships with the insurance. You understand how the insurance companies work from a different perspective. And so, although, as you say it, I know you're a very humble guy, but, it's amazing. It's the holy grail in any business to be able to help a person to feel a certain way, plus get them the best result that they possibly can, and to care about that. And that's the cool thing when you add both of them, which I think is cool. And I think a cool thing that you were talking about is, and it transcends any business, right? When you have a patron or a customer come and the first thought is the cost, that a lot of times what Brooklyn tells me, she just says, because she works with high-end weddings, and so she's not for everyone, like you said. Like, not everyone's for her. She's not for everyone. But she calls it, that's not my bride. Like, she'll know it immediately,
Yeah.
you know? And so I think
Yeah.
that part is profound when you're talking about it. Like you're able to identify, and it not in a bad way, like, no, I'm not going to deal with you, but you identify this is not my case. That's completely fine. I'll make sure that you have somebody else. But I think that takes a lot of confidence too.
Well, probably a little bit of that, but more faith, right? Because there's been times where I'm like, God, I need a case. We need a client. Like, are you testing me here? Because I really need it.
Yeah.
But he knows that I really don't need that, right? Like maybe it's more like, hey, I want a case, but this is not one that we need.
Absolutely.
And so I think for us again, and I've said it multiple times, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but it comes back to those two inquiries. Do they need help? Can we help them? And there's times where you answer, yeah, they need help. Can I help them? I can't help them. Like, I can't help them at the expense of my mental health, my emotional health, my staff, right? Like,
Yeah.
Because I believe like creating a solid work environment, great quality of life, personally and professionally, and a nice culture, right? And your guy said it the other day, like culture is everything. And it helps to create a more happy and thereby more productive employee, myself included, right? Because if you're happy people tend to be more productive and more excited about what it is that we do and what we can do. But yeah, I mean, trust me, there's been moments where I think, we do need a case. Like what I found is in those moments, those months, those weeks when we like, oh my God, we need new business. That's usually when we get tempted with, cases that in a normal scenario, I would say absolutely not. But
I think that helps you. I think that helps you to stand out. And, again, like if you've heard me talk, if anybody has ever heard me talk, I'm 2 sentences away from bringing up my brother. And so it's awesome to be able to sit down in this realm. And, this has been a combination for me of a episode of You Have to Meet My Friends, but also the correspondent. This is the jump off. And so for those of you guys listening to this, we are starting, and I'm gonna put it out there right now because it'll hold me to the fire. But I've had the concept of creating a correspondent show where I can bring on, a Rob, and I could bring him on every, month or, 6 weeks or 2, whatever it is. And that you hear like things that you otherwise wouldn't know because he's a master at his craft and he can prepare you for some of the things that are coming. And so we're going to be doing that with sports, with fashion, with law, with writing, with personal development, with all these things, because I have a ton of really, really cool friends. But I thank you, Rob. I thank you for taking the time. I know your time is super valuable. And I appreciate it.
You're just hyping me up, bro. Like if I was half as good as you say or think I am, I'd be pretty awesome. But
you're 100 times. I don't do it any justice, man. I never do it any justice.
I'm an ordinary guy, man, with a lot of flaws and a lot of losses.
and incredible perseverance, grit, and and scrap. That's the I think the coolest thing is being willing, and with all of your business, and not only that, just within your life, is you're willing to do the things that most people are just not willing to do, and you get uncommon results because you do uncommon things, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I've got a great support system. My wife is, we went out, we took the kids out to dinner a couple nights ago to celebrate a couple of things, but somewhat of a business milestone. And in addition to getting the kids, Riley leaving for college this morning and Cameron turning 17 this morning, it was pretty emotional. 5:30 a.m. in our household, but I have a incredible support staff, and I give a large amount of credit to my wife, who was the catalyst for getting us to make the move. I mean, she's sort of the unsung hero because she does all of the tough behind the scenes work, and she had the vision to start the office, and she was heavily into the details of how things would operate, which has allowed me to do what I do. It's like I'm able to be a chef, right? Get in and do, try to create magic, right? Try to fight for justice every day.
You're incredible, man. I love you a bunch. Hopefully you have a great lunch. Tell the crew I said hello, and congratulate Taylor on finishing dead last in our Cabrillo High School alumni golf game. That is a feat, because we didn't just come in second to last. We were actually the last in the whole tournament.
Yeah, that takes that's cool. That's quite an accomplishment to finish dead last in a scramble tournament. That's pretty incredible. I can't even. You know what though? It was fitting, and it was. I got so much excitement out of that when I realized that we did bad, and they were posting the scores, and I was like, at that moment, I'm thinking, I hope we finish dead last, because if we played that bad for no recognition, imagine how shitty you'd feel.
I want to
finish second to last, you'd be like, oh, we suck, and nobody gave us any recognition, but we got called up to the podium.
Oh yeah,
got our picture taken. Right, and we were definitely the best dressed. Definitely the best dress.
Well, a big shout out on that one. Guess where I'm going today? You'll never guess.
Where are you going? I don't know. Where are you going?
At 1:30, I am taking my daughter McKenna to golf tryouts for Carlsbad High School.
Hey, get it.
So I'm so excited. I took her out the other day, and I said, look, on the way, I said, I finished dead last in the alumni game. But I'm your dad, so I'm going to give you advice. And I'm going to tell you things about your swing, but I want you not to listen, because I'm bad at golfing, but I'm a dad, so I'm still going to give you advice. I want to preface this on the way. And we went, and she set up, and she grabbed her club, and I was like, oh, you should grab it like this. On key, on par for what I was saying. I was going to give her bad advice. And then I was telling her about the grip and where to stand and all the stuff. And then I just watched her, and she, with her driver, she probably, the first one, 100 yards, dead straight.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, oh, I guess I'll just be over here saying nothing and hitting my slice. And she hit with the wedges, or she hit with the irons, dead straight. She hit with the wedge, dead straight. I mean, I was just like, holy cow, this was amazing. Awesome. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, think about that's great. And, remember, if you look good, you feel good, you play good. So, you got to gear her up. I love golf because it allows me to buy funny shirts that I would never wear and otherwise, and cool kicks, man. I love my fits are always I get more nervous about what I'm gonna wear when I go play, because my fit's got to be right. I don't really care how I play. I just need to be able to look good. But you'll have to gear her up and fit her up. But going back to that point, you remember Dad somehow who couldn't throw a spiral, hit a baseball, and who was right-handed but somehow managed to shoot a basketball left-handed, taught us how to do all of that.
Yep.
So much of it with sports and business and life is mental. Yeah. And children, our kids, man, just they don't care about that specialized knowledge as much as they care about that specialized presence. You being there and you making them feel and know that they're encouraged and they're supported and they're loved and you believe in them. Like that's really it. Like if you can have the most technically advanced or tactically advanced coach, but if that coach doesn't demonstrate a belief and encouragement and support in that athlete or that child, they're not going to get the maximum result. Yeah. They might not even get any result. They might squeeze the love out of them. So the fact that you're there, and it's probably a benefit that you don't know how to play golf, because you truly are one of the worst golfers I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody want to tee up on the green.
Hey, I have simplified my game, man. I got a driver, I got a 3-wood, and I got a putter.
Okay. Well, and it works well for you, but it's probably a good thing that you don't, right? Because there's so many like the helicopter parent or the parent that's trying to live vicariously through their child that like squeezes the love out of it for them, because at this point, it's healthy for them to try new things. It's healthy for them to get out there and try golf when she's never probably swung a club until a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
And she's only able to do that because kids, they're born with an innate belief, right? And it's the world and the people that they surround themselves with and the parents who squeeze that belief out of them. Yeah. So that's why it is so important for us, if they do demonstrate or an interest in something, that our job is not to mold them into who we think that they should be or who we want them to be or who we are, right? Our job is to encourage, support, and love who they are intended to be, right? And just giving them that love and support. Yeah. And because you might not know how to golf, but you could teach somebody, like not a technical skill, right? Because nobody would want that swing or the utilization of that stupid club selection. But everything in life comes down to being focused, being committed, understanding that every expert started out as a beginner. So you got to put in the time. Yeah. Like the talent is only going to get you so far. Like hard work is what's going to get you there. Like people who are quote unquote experts at what they do or masters at what they do, all that shit means is that they fucking failed for decades. That's all that means. It's just time and persistence equals success. That's it. So you keep encouraging her, keep making it fun, and you never know, right?
Absolutely. So, well, I love you, man. I love you to death. Have a phenomenal
day. I apologize. You'll be able to bleep me out again.
No way, man. That's what we have, man. It's here.
I get on here and show my ass and then get canceled. So
I love you, brother.
Love you, Will.
Okay, have a great day. All right. Bye-bye. I keep telling you that I have the greatest friends in the whole entire world. That was my brother, Rob Cardenas. I'll make sure that you guys all have the link to him and to his website that he said that is down right now, but we'll have a phone number, all this stuff. I would encourage you, honestly, I'm a dad that's got a daughter that's 15 years old, about to drive. I'm very fortunate because I have my brother, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. But if you don't have a personal injury lawyer, what I would do is I would just go and meet some. My brother said, no, it's not necessary, whatever it is. I think that it's necessary, because imagine if you had them, but you never needed them, but it's different than needing them and not having them. It's a completely different paradigm. Also, you heard from my buddy Will, and you heard from Greg Reed, which is like the elusive spider monkey. So hopefully you had a phenomenal time. Another episode of You Have to Meet My Friends. It never disappoints. I go live. I call my friends randomly. They have no idea. And guess what? You get a chance to be able to listen to them, and hopefully you'll get to meet my brother sometime. You'll meet my buddy, my best friend Will, and you'll meet Greg Reed. If you haven't checked out Secret Knock, secretknock.co, I am the co-host with my friend Greg Reed. It's the #1 networking conference in the world that you cannot go to unless you're invited. And all of you who are listening, guess what? You have a friend who has invitations. So it is an incredible experience. We're having one in Las Vegas, September 11th and 12th. That's actually sold out. So we have opportunities in San Diego in March 2025. And then we have the Vibe Room that's coming in Salt Lake, and a new location that's going to be dropped very soon is going to be in California. It's a live version of the podcast where you get to meet these people. We add music to it. It's a phenomenal room, and it's been my honor, my pleasure, and my name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the